Yo, what's happening? What's happening? You are now watching Juke Boy Sports Show. I'm your host, King Ralph, here with the homie, and the co-host, my homie, the homie, Kai. What's happening, bro?
The homie, the fam, the bro, the brother from another. It's your boy Kai. Thanks for the wonderful intro, Ralph. I'm doing great, man. I'm blessed to be here, blessed to be with you for another episode, and let's get into it, man.
Yeah, we're due for another one. Shout out to my dad for watching my daughter. You may hear her in the
Shout out.
background, but hey, she's safe and not coloring on my couch. So that's all I care about. But before we get started, man, we got to shoot a shout out to the sponsors.
Mhm.
If you want to do a podcast like what you're watching, music videos, photo shoots, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fit Boxer. And we got some quick hitters coming at you live. First up, we got Lamar Jackson.
Mhm.
Got some wonderful highlights, but he requested a trade over the weekend. What are your thoughts, bro?
Um, I'm not
Because that's your
surprised.
boy.
Yes, it's my boy, my favorite quarterback, my favorite team. I'm not surprised. I think, uh, like you said, me and you, Ralph, for the last over the last season or close to 2 seasons, negotiations have been going on. They've gone nowhere. And then you look at, I feel like him stating it publicly would just simply just to put more added pressure to a situation in terms of the fact that he hasn't been getting any offers. He mentioned them not meeting his value, what he feels or deems valuable, right? So I think that in this case, that's where it's at. And we can sit up here and speculate, oh, does he need an agent, this, that, and the third? You know what I'm saying? I think for outside business ventures, that would be amazing. But in terms of just him requesting a trade, I am not personally surprised by this. And at the end of the day, I really don't know what's going to happen at this point. I think everyone is just speculating, right? So once again, I just kind of have to put my seatbelt on tight and not too tight, and see how it all plays out. I think if there's going to be anything that happens, the first sign will be the NFL draft. So we'll see how that goes. That's all
Yeah, I
I got.
think if any trade happens, man, it'll be by the draft. I think that it's one of those things that they're trying to pull the veil over our eyes. You guess you could say when it comes to this whole agent mom versus his mom being his agent situation. I think that it's just all a bunch of smoke because I think at the end of the day, regardless of whether him having an agent or not, no report as far as the owners or anybody as far as his value, nobody's talking about the fact that he has an agent. It's only the media talking about his agent, and that's why the deal's not getting done. And it's like, no, when you hear these reports coming out, the Jim Irsay, um,
Mm,
the issues with teams pulling out, it's picks, the compensation, or it's like the guaranteed money. So that wouldn't change regardless of him having an agent or not. So I think that's all hogwash. Next
yeah.
up, we got the Mavs, man. Luca out here looking real suspect. Uh, I think it's a really bad look. I've got it. I got some stats here. I
All
did my
right.
research. Make sure you do your research. But
Always, always.
since the Kyrie trade, there's been 20 games.
Okay.
They're 7-13 in that time span. They have a -2.5 in the last month, and they're 30th in rebounding. So it leads
Woo.
to the question: who is to blame? And I believe whoever the GM is and making a decision on player personnel. And when you
Mm,
look at the team, the way that the team was constructed, the moves that they made when acquiring Kyrie as well, I think at the beginning of the year they were kind of set up to a certain degree as far as they had defenders, they had long wing defenders, they had scoring off the bench, they had not the biggest lineup, but Christian Wood,
yeah.
Powell, Kleber, Maxi Kleber are all about 6'9", 6'10", 6'11". So I think that you had long defenders and long rebounders, and then you have a JaVale McGee who just for some reason doesn't get minutes. And so
I know.
so I think some of the issues that you have with your team, you're not giving them opportunities, and then you
Mhm.
trade Finney Smith out, you trade Spencer Dinwiddie, you trade players that would have been helped on the defensive end. Then on top of that, You have Luca, who's always made terrible shot choices.
Mm.
He's always been an inefficient scorer. And so you bring in a Kyrie Irving, which is, and we talked about this off air, I think that it's setting up to where they're going to end up trying to blame Kyrie.
Yeah.
And I just think that's completely unfair. Luca has always had his inefficiencies. He's arguing with the rest before instead of getting down in transition. He's a liability on the defensive end all 4 years. And then and it's just those things, man. I think that it's very unfortunate situation because on paper, if you have Luca just running the offense, and then Kyrie has showed that he can play off the ball, it should work.
Yep.
But when you don't have a willing passer in Luca, where he's looking more so to get his shot, and then when he is looking to get his shot, he's not efficient. Then he's not getting back on defense. And Kyrie ain't no lockdown defender, but he's no
Mm.
slouch at defender like they try to paint him out to be. So I think that it's just a bad situation where bringing in Kyrie doesn't cover up the inefficiencies that they have on the defensive end and rebounding. They got out rebounded in back to back games
Which is crazy, like just how they're
against the
doing it.
Hornets. And the
Yeah.
Hornets are like 25 and something, like 25 and 40 or something along those lines. Like,
Yeah, they don't have the big and the Hornets traded away Mason Plumlee, so it's like
right,
how are you getting out rebounded? You know what I'm saying? But
right.
everything that you said, man, I agree with. I'll use a quick quote. Rest in peace to the Queen Aliyah. She once said, "Who should be hurt? Who should be blamed?" And I gotta blame Luke. I had to use
Mhm.
that quote right there, man, because for everything that you said. So I really don't have anything else left to say. I think you laid it out perfectly. And one stat, I guess, with the research is they were 4-0 when it was just Kyrie Irving. The ball was flowing. He was committed to winning, and I think Luca he's too ball dominant, and defensively he's a sieve on defense, and we just want to see energy and effort. At least do that.
Hmm.
So
Right.
just like so yeah. So I
Because we
agree.
don't, because we always talk about Steph, and Steph is one of those people that we always talk about. But
And he's
Steph
gotten
gives
better.
effort.
Yeah.
Steph gets better. He rotates.
Yeah.
He's you hear him talking. You hear him
Great point.
going over screens, going under screens, getting back in transition,
Mhm.
trying to take charges. So I think
Mhm.
that it's effort. I'm not asking you to go out there and be a Pat Bev or a lockdown defender, but effort at the
Yeah.
end of the day. And then next up, we got PG with
Mm.
a very ugly looking knee injury. I definitely don't like watching this. I know it's up on the screen, but how does his injury
Oh
affect
man.
the Clippers'
Yeah.
chances of going deep in this playoff run?
It absolutely does affect them, Ralph, because with Paul George, he was actually the Clippers' leading scorer, right? So he's a three-level scorer from all three levels. He's also kind of another playmaker on that team for the Clippers, and he's also one of the better defenders. However, the Clippers, since they've gotten together, I believe we can agree, for some odd reason, under Ty Lue, they have not really been able to establish a true defensive identity with having a Kawhi Leonard, with having a Paul George, even though there's times that we saw in years past with Batum and all that when their defensive rotations looked immaculate but now it's just they're just not consistent. But to stick to to your question, answer the question directly, it affects them negatively in terms of their championship aspirations. They cannot win a championship without Paul George. So I believe they said he's going to be reevaluated, if I'm not mistaken, within 2 to 3 weeks. It was some type of, I think, knee injury that, as we could see. And they're actually, I believe, 7-12. Excuse me. I think 8-12 now because I think you said they beat the Bulls. So I believe they're eight
Yes.
and 12, Ralph, um, in games without Paul George. That's not including just without Kawhi as well, right? So
Right.
Kawhi Leonard, I think I said before this season, having a team where your two best players are injury prone or not durable, we've seen that to be a problem, right? So I think they have a lot of depth in role players, but I believe something that me and you have talked about, I know we've agreed on this. It's one thing when you have role player depth, right? But when role players get asked to do what star players are asked, right?
Right.
That is where it becomes a problem. So I like Eric Gordon. I like some of those other guys who can shoot threes, but they're not really shot creators. And I'll end it with this: Norman Powell, someone who's been out since I believe March 2nd with a right shoulder injury as well. So I think when you couple that with the fact that Paul George recently got injured, Kawhi Leonard's up and down this, right? I think that you need well, I know that you need Paul George to be there because Russell Westbrook, with all due respect, he can't consistently be your number two option, I don't think, in a playoff run because his game changes in the playoffs. We have too much history. So I'm hoping he gets back. That's all I got.
And it's
All
definitely one
right.
of those things you want to pay attention to this injury,
Mhm.
because it's right down, like I said, like we mentioned, they will not win without Paul George.
Yeah.
It just is what it is, regardless of. I do think that his injury can be
Recovery or blessing in a way.
a blessing in disguise, because, like
Mhm.
LeBron, you get certain players are going to get more reps
Mhm.
down the stretch, which makes them puts them in a position where they're ready to go
Yeah.
when you get those opportunities. But like we said, his injury, I believe it was classified as a knee strain. I don't know what
Yeah.
stage or level or whatever they call it, but it is a knee strain. He is out for 2 to 3 weeks. The injury happened last Wednesday, so
Yes.
he could be back anywhere from the 5th through the 12th, and the NBA season is over on the 9th.
Mm.
So
Like
it
round one.
is something to look at. So eh, we'll see. We'll see. We got to keep an eye on that. There's more to come. But the Final Four, men's and women's, is is upon us, and it's been a lot of surprises. Teams getting blown out, but first up, we got FAU and San Diego State about to go at
Mm.
it. FAU, I they personally shouldn't even be here because they shouldn't have got they got helped out by the refs getting Memphis out of there, but
Hey.
they've been able to scratch, claw, fight,
Mhm.
and San Diego State has been able to do the same. They beat an Alabama team that pretty much everybody had Alabama winning and all, if not Houston.
Yeah,
Then
I have
on
you.
top of that, Texas had them down. Not Texas. Texas had Miami. Um, San Diego State was down to Creighton, and they came back and was able to win that game. This is one of those games where nobody's gonna score 70 points. You're gonna be this game's gonna be in that 40 to 60 region. But
Mhm.
who you got winning?
So I actually like FAU. Right? I think that what and I believe it's going to be a close game. I believe it's going to be like a 3 point game. It's going to be a slugfest, Ralph. Like you said, San Diego State, they have an identity. They stick with their identity. I believe they've held each opponent underneath their average. I think they're like averaging like around like 57, 60 something points per game in the tournament, their opponents, right? So their defense is really, 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 really good. Eventually you need to be able to hit buckets and make buckets. But I look at the FAU team. Um, they've won 35 games, best in their conference USA prior to this season. They had never won its game in the NCAA tournament, but they adapt to their opponent's style, right? And so I think it's like, hey, whatever way you want to play, we'll play that. So I call that being a chameleon, right? So if they want to
Yeah,
pressure up, if you want to apply a full court press, we can do that. You want to shoot threes, we can do that. You want to play inside, we can do that, right? I will say history is not necessarily on their side in terms of a 9 seed has never made the national championship game, and they're the first conference USA team to make it to the Final Four, I believe, since Derrick Rose's not UConn, Memphis team. I think they made it to the Final Four. Yeah, '08. I think he was on that '08 team because then he got drafted next year, right?
yeah, yeah. Because they
Okay,
went to the
okay.
championship game and lost to Kansas.
Okay, yeah. And then on the fifth flip side, you have San Diego State. They're 22-0. I have notes in front of me. They're 22-0 while allowing points when allowing opponents 65 points or fewer, including the number one win seed versus Alabama. They have three fifth-year seniors and a six-year senior on their team. They're extremely deep. Um, and that Creighton game was tight. So based off that, San Diego State, where my boy Kawhi Leonard went. That's actually how I found out about Kawhi Leonard, by the way. Um,
Right.
you could kind of go there, but I actually am picking FAU because, to be honest with you, I have an all Florida final. So I'm going with FAU. I say why not? You know what I'm saying? It's a Final Four. This is what I like about the Final Four, Ralph. I'm curious to see what you have, but I got FAU. I'm going to roll with the lowest seed in the tournament.
I'm gonna roll with San Diego State, man,
I
because
know it's
I feel like their ball pressure and the way that
yeah,
they play defense, while
yeah.
also being an older team, a lot of experience. They were 30-2 going
Mhm.
into March Madness when the pandemic happened. So they didn't even get a chance to really display what they had to offer with that team. But with a 30-2 record, and then to follow it up with this team that they have now, with a lot of those players still playing from that team, I think you got a lot of a high IQ, good basketball, team oriented game that's going to get played on both sides of the ball. But
Mhm.
I do think, and plus with us being out here, UNLV Rebs go up against San Diego State. I'm gonna go with the Mountain West
West, yeah.
to do
Okay,
their thing
I
out
like
here.
that pick. I like that pick. Like my gut's not really in the FAU thing, but I figure,
Right,
hey, I want to go with the Cinderella. So
right,
I like
right.
it.
And
I
then
like both.
next up we got Miami versus UConn. Man, Miami.
Mm,
If you know anything about me, we've talked about it. This was more football, but I've always been a huge Hurricanes fan. I love the
mhm.
colors, that green, that orange. Now that at least recently they've been wearing that black with the green and orange.
Yeah,
But they got three guards that they could throw at you. If we've ever had a conversation, you've ever watched the show, when it comes to tournament time, I specifically always say guard play is what wins you the tournament. And
yeah.
so I think when you have three guards, you have a 6 foot guard, you have a 6'7" guard, and you got a 6'4" guard. All three do they get at you at three different ways, but you got an ACC player of the year in Isaiah Wong. But I just think that UConn's a little they're just too big. And when you look at Miami's team, they throw three guards at you, but then their tallest player is really like maybe a small forward, power forward in the NBA
Yeah.
size. Where I think UConn can throw some legit centers and some legit forwards at them, and so I think that coaching, while also
Mhm.
the size, is going to end up playing a big factor. Plus
And
shooting,
Hurley is a
because
coach at
because
UConn,
you
right? I bet.
yes yeah,
Okay, so
and UConn can shoot the rock.
okay. I
So
like that. I like that. You like I said, I'm going with the all Florida final. I just figured, hey, let's do something exciting. But my breakdown is, I think when we look at UConn, a lot of people, if we're going to be, straight up, is UConn would be considered the best remaining team in the tournament, right? Some could even say the best team in the tournament, right? And then I believe they were outscoring their opponents by 90 points in terms of the totality of it all, which is
right,
insane. And then
right,
you have their last two Final Four appearances resulted in title wins, and you had Jim Calhoun. You had the Shabazz Napier one, I believe, and then the other
mm-hmm.
one was I forgot
Kevin
was that
Kevin Ali,
Kevin
his
Ali, right?
team.
Kevin Ali, right? And no one really saw them coming that year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So UConn definitely I would say is the favorite in the rest of the out of the Final Four, and in this matchup. However, I think like to your point, I know you said you like the Canes. They have a nice schedule. I looked at the teams that they beat within the tournament. They beat Drake, which is a team that I actually had Miami beating, but it was going to be a
Yeah,
close game. They beat them.
yeah,
They weren't your normal 12 seed. You're like, okay, well, fine. But then they beat Indiana by 16, and
right.
they beat the number one seed Houston, who I had projected to win the chip, and Houston, Texas. And then they beat the two seed Texas, right? So they have a very nice resume as well. So I think that they're not going to be intimidated by UConn.
Nah,
I think Jim Larinaga is going to is going to coach on the other side as well. So I'm gonna roll with Miami, and so I think we're going to be on the opposite end of the spectrum. But that's what makes good dialogue. So yeah,
right, right, right.
all right,
Don't nobody want to hear us just agree on everything all show.
here we go.
And then we got the women's final four, and I'm sorry, ladies, I didn't have enough time for the clips. But first up, we got LSU and the Baltimore Shorty herself, Angel Reese,
Yeah.
leading the Lady Tigers
Mhm.
up against Virginia Tech, the number one seed. We got a 3-1. Is
Yeah.
LSU gonna get the upset?
I believe so. I believe so. I sat down. I watched the game versus Ohio State the other night, and they have Virginia Tech has a great player who shoots a three. They were shooting threes like bomb from Bora Bora the other day, right? but I believe that LSU, their team, I like their team more. I like Angel Reese because they have a dominant inside presence, Ralph. And as we always say, you live by the three, you die by the three. And I like teams
Yeah,
that can slow it down. I like a team that can throw it into the post. They have really good guard play. I will say this though. Last game, um, Miami did a great job against LSU in terms of limiting Angel Reese's points early. She didn't get her first basket until like the third quarter of the game. Like they did a
right.
really, really good job. But I just believe that ultimately the best player in this particular matchup is more dominant, is going to dominate. And I actually like LSU to advance. I like what we'll get to the next matchup, but it was something that Don Staley had said about the conference, and I like what she
Yeah.
said. So I'm rolling with my girl from Baltimore. No bias though, no bias. I just do believe that LSU is actually the better team in this matchup.
And it's funny when we started talking about bias, we were talking about me and my boy, shout out to Marv. I'm doing a lot of shout outs today.
Yeah,
Cause shout
that's
out to
fun, man.
my cousin
Yeah.
TT. She played
Okay.
basketball for 4 years at LSU.
Hmm.
She got sick while she was down there. She got this disease called Guillain-Barré, and just the way that they treated us while we were
Hmm.
down there, just being her family, just the whole town, Baton Rouge, everywhere we went, we had
Yeah.
LSU gear on, and they just treated us like family. So I've always had this love for LSU, although I did not attend the school, and so my bias is kicking in, but I can support my bias with facts and breakdown and analysis and everything that you said. I agree with. I think that when we start to get to, I think the difference between the women's game and the men's game, yes, team games wins, but I think when it comes to women, the stars, your stars,
Facts.
if they could be the star that they are, it could drive
Mhm.
your team to a victory. Where in the past, when it comes to men's on the men's side, we've had teams where they're the best player is not always on the team that won,
Right.
and so it is what it is. And I think that LSU, Angel Reese, and her squad are going to end up getting the victory. You can call it an upset because it's 3 versus 1, but
Mhm.
I think that I think they also got Monkey is just a phenomenal coach.
Yeah.
She's been trying to control the narrative of like we're a little bit ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
It's it, it's kind of like when you hedge your bet,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna take LSU. And then next up we got the superstar Caitlin Clark, probably one of the most gifted offensive weapons we have seen, men or women's, to
Thank you.
touch a basketball. The number 2 Iowa versus this very deep South Carolina team led by Don Staley. And is it Aaliyah Boston?
Yes, that is right.
I know her last name is Boston, but I always mess up her first
Oh
name
yeah.
because I be mixing
Mhm.
people up. But I thought it was Aaliyah.
Mhm.
Aaliyah
Mhm.
Boston, Don Staley, and them Gamecocks, man. That team
Yeah.
is deep. But I'm gonna let you. You know what? I'm gonna go first because you went
Yeah.
first on the last one. There's a as a hooper and just a game, I enjoy basketball. I would love to see Caitlin Clark get that opportunity to play in a final. But it's like as much as I just said with stars,
Yeah.
that South Carolina team is so deep, and they got a star on their own who
Mhm.
plays both sides. Plus, I just want to see Angel get that rematch. I want to see her get her lick back
Mhm.
and on the biggest stage. But at the same time, it's like I haven't
It's
watched
tough, man.
Iowa enough because I
Uh-huh.
think in the past you could just hone in and focus on keeping the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands.
Okay.
Where I think their team's a little deeper now, so I don't think that you can completely do like a boxing one and keep the ball out of her head or strictly focus on her. But I do think that that's the best way for them to be able to beat for South Carolina to be able to beat Iowa because their team is so deep.
Mm. I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Plus, I just don't think there's no way Don Staley's going to let Caitlin Clark beat her.
Hey, crazier things have happened, right? But sometimes you just, hey, what they say? Sometimes you just have to tip your cap off to somebody. You know, it's kind of like I'll use an analogy. I don't know if you saw podcast P. Paul George has a podcast now. Everyone has a podcast, but shout out to Paul George. And he mentioned guarding Steph Curry and how he said, "Oh, I'm going to lock him up, blah 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 blah." And he's going to do this. And then he had 50 in a game, right? And he's like, "Bro, he's like." Steph Curry actually defending him is crazy. It's ridiculous, right? And he's played him for years. It's just stuff does not happen. And so Caitlin Clark,
Right.
because you really put me on her. I found out about her last year, but you really got me watching more of her stuff, right? And then I was
Yeah.
like, yo, this her release, her range from Bora Bora,
Yeah.
like when they compare her to like Curry, bro, like yo, like hey, I just love her game, man. And they
Yeah.
recently had Sue Bird talk to the teams. I'm like, Sue Bird over there tampering. Now let me stop. So putting that magic, she's gonna have a magical performance. But one thing that she did have, I guess she had 9 turnovers in her 40-point triple double. I'm not nitpicking, but maybe South Carolina can use some pressure. I think
hmm
you said it right about their depth. Um, as a matter of fact, I've said on many occasions they have a starting five in South Carolina, and pretty
hmm
much to wrap it up, I saw a cool stat, Ralph. It's crazy, right? South Carolina, their bench, 30 points per game off their bench. Guess how many Iowa? 12 off their bench. So I think so. So that's a huge discrepancy, right? So it's like when you watch all these games in the tournament with South Carolina, one thing that stands out: teams are playing South Carolina well in the first half, but I think it's because you kind of have to, right? So they're getting their best shot in the first half, then South Carolina wears you down in that second half. So they're going to
Right.
take that punch, like if Tyson takes a punch, but you have to have the strong chin, right? And
Right.
then come back at him. And so I think Dawn Staley instills that insight into her team. So I think that they have the coaching advantage and they have the experience advantage of having been there and won that before, and they have the depth. So I'm with you. I'm gonna ride with you. I think Caitlin Clark's gonna have a good game. But I think it's gonna be just a little she's gonna come up short, and I think we're gonna get that all SEC final between LSU and South Carolina.
And for the second time, we got to skip over the Benavidez plant reaction. It was a great fight. We all were wrong. Shout out to Benavidez and getting that victory. But next up, for the sake of time, man, we got to go quick on this. We got 10 minutes
All
or
right.
eight, technically 8 minutes to run through the MVP prediction and the top
I'll do
five
my
inside
yep.
linebackers.
All
So
right,
as
we
far
got
as my
that.
linebackers, bro, the thing about this linebacker class, it's not very deep when it comes to just strictly the position itself. I really don't have an inside linebacker going until the second round,
Right,
and a
right.
lot of my favorites are third rounders, and
Mm.
so I'm just gonna run through mine. I got Ivan Pace out of Cincinnati. He
Okay.
joined in Cincinnati just for this past season to play with his younger brother, but an
Mhm.
amazing blitzer, the fastest inside linebacker at the Senior Bowl. He plays with a certain amount of hostility. He's but at the same time, when you can use his speed against him, he falls for misdirection, and he's a mismatch in coverage. But even though he's at 5'10", 230, he had 126 tackles and 12 sacks this past season.
Man.
So he showed the ability to be able to get after the quarterback. After that, I got Dorian Williams 4.4. He ran a 4.49 at the combine. Great
Okay.
length, athleticism. The opposite of Ivan because he's phenomenal in coverage. A little undersized, can put some more meat on his bones,
Hmm.
but and because of that, he struggles against um, shedding blocks. And in the K State game, when Tulane went up and played Kansas State, he was bullied. They was pushing him about 6, 7 yards down the field
Mm.
on run plays. Next up, I got Diane Henley out of Washington State. He's a
Hmm.
former receiver and return man, but he plays linebacker. So at 6'1", 225, he's a Fred Warner type. Although Fred Warner was one of the people nobody was able to see, but that ability to line up in a slot and guard a tight end or a slot receiver and be able to stay hip to hip with them. He has good ball skills because he was a former wide receiver,
Hmm.
explosive coming downhill, but he's more reactive than he is proactive, which is the issue with a lot of the linebackers, which is probably inside linebackers, which is why I don't have them so high. Outside of Jack Campbell, everybody else is just really just coming off of athleticism. They're not really reading the play, knowing what play is coming, and then reading off of that. And then next up, after that, I mentioned him just before Jack Campbell, 6'5", 250. He's a legit inside linebacker, but at the same time, he has
Big.
a decent athleticism, a great feel for zone coverage. Not as a twitchy as far as athleticism coming out of Iowa, but sure tackler in space, and he does know how to read an offense to be able to break down and communicate to his team. He's a
Okay.
if you're looking to plug and play, he's that guy, but he's not gonna be that all pro disruptor that you're looking for. And then the finish up, I got Trenton Simpson, 6'2", 235, high end athleticism, 4'4", 3 speed, great blitzer, good and amazing in coverage, but hasn't been. And he was a former safety, so he was a slot safety the year before last. But he's
Mm.
not the type. He's not Jack Campbell coming down and playing in between the tackles.
Okay, got you. But he can do pretty much everything else in sideline to sideline.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So I actually have pretty much like the same list outside of maybe like one player. So what I'll do is I'll just read the names off because I think you did a great job of description for the sake of time. So number 5, I have Dorian Williams, linebacker out of Tulane, weak
Yeah.
side linebacker. Brian Asamoah is I would say is a pro comp. Then at number 4, I have Drew Sanders, linebacker out of Arkansas. He's a blitz heavy linebacker. Comparison to Troy Anderson, 6'4", 235, 21 years old. And then number
He was
3,
number
I
six
had
for me.
you number 6. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
he was number
pretty.
six for
So
me.
I have a little richer, but I do recognize his weakness in terms of the missed tackle. I saw a missed tackle rate, I think, close to 20%, which is kind
Twenty
of
percent, bro.
yeah, close, right? I don't have him on top 50, but he's like in the stream, man.
Bro, that's
But
1 out of 5 tackles, bro.
yeah. Hey, this gotta go with our shorts, man.
For real, for real.
And then I got. Hey, this is why I stick with receivers, right? Is like, God, just do the receivers, man, right? And then and it's crazy because I should know defense, right? But anyway, being a Raider fan, but Ray Lewis is rolling over in his grave somewhere. But no,
Oh,
shout
good.
out to Ray Lewis. I have Henley at number 3, and then at number 2, I got Simpson. I got Trenton Simpson out of Clemson. Uh, and then number 1, I got Jack Campbell, man. All right, moving on, bro.
And then I just really want to talk about this topic, so we're gonna go 10 minutes over on our show today.
Okay. Oh
I
man.
just could not go without talking about this because it is such a hot thing right now. And so the
Yeah.
MVP prediction
Yes.
is one of those things that we got to talk about it, man. It's a hot topic right now. We got Jokic coming down the stretch. We got Embiid, who there's people were saying he was ducking the smoke yesterday.
Hey,
Um,
I like
and,
it.
and I like Embiid, but you could have sat out the Suns game so you could play against Jokic. You didn't have to. You didn't have to go up against Aiton. And so I think that, and then Giannis at the same time. And so I think it's one of those things where, as we speak, I think there's 7 games left, and so he's
Yeah.
gonna get over that 65 games played threshold. Giannis has missed about 16 games as well,
Mhm.
and then Jokic, they went on that bad run. So it's like, where do you really go at this particular juncture? And so the one thing for me is I'm gonna shout out some stats and then I'm gonna get your opinion. But first off, we got Jokic. Jokic is averaging. Wait, we're hold up. We're not that one. All right, so Jokic is averaging 24.9 points a game, about 25 points a game, almost 12 rebounds at 11.9, almost a triple double at 10 assists at 9.9 assists. But his pie rating, which is player impact efficiency
Mm,
is 2 points less than Joel Embiid's. So
mm,
at 21.2, he has his, like I mentioned with Joel Embiid, his is 21.4, but he's averaging 4.2 assists a game, 10.2 rebounds a game, and 33.3 rebounds a game, which puts him as he's the leading scorer in the NBA right now. So with you being a big while also being in a guard dominated league, having leading the league in the impact on the court, leading scorer, solid rebounder, amazing defense that he's playing. I think that he's playing at such a level he should make at least a second team, in my personal opinion. Next up, we got Giannis averaging 31.1 points a game, 11.7 rebounds a game, almost 12, 5.6 assists a game at almost 6. But
mm.
his impact is all one whole point lower at 20.4.
And he's played less games too, right? I think.
Yes, he has
Okay.
missed more. He has missed more games than Joel Embiid, which is
Okay.
surprising.
Yeah.
But who you got, bro?
So in terms of prediction and in terms of who I want to win and also who I think was going to win, I really do believe that they were leaning toward Embiid in terms of as of recent, right? But I believe that I really do believe this, Ralph. I believe because of Jokic beating Giannis, right, and then Embiid not playing this game in Denver, right? I believe that
Yeah,
they're going to wind up giving it to Embiid, and he's going to be known as that person that came up short.
yeah.
This is my personal opinion. I just feel that's what's going to happen because he smoked him out in Philly, but that was early in the season, and then it's like,
Hmm.
hey, Jokic is waiting for his get back. Like I hit you up, come and get him back. Because had he beat Jokic, I truly believe had he just played and performed well, right? And if they won, I think it's Embiid to lose because he
Right.
already beat Giannis in Pfizer form a couple weeks back in that game. That was a really good game, right? So I think Embiid's impact on both the offensive and defensive end from a scoring, being the leading scorer and the defender is he should win. But I think that ultimately, just to wrap it up, I think Jokic is gonna I don't even like to use the word steal it, but yeah, I think I'm gonna get that third one. So that's
Yeah,
all I got.
yeah. It's one of those things. I think with him sitting out this game is it's the perfect opportunity for Jokic to come
Yeah.
through, snatch the thing at the end. But next up, man, we got the draft, mock draft 2.0.
Ooh,
The Bears have since traded the pick since the last time we did ours.
man.
So that has changed a few things. There's been free agency and some trades that have happened. But first
Mhm.
up, with the first number one overall pick, the Carolina Panthers
Am I going first? Or you
select
go? Okay, you going first. Okay.
quarterback Bryce Young
All right.
out of Alabama.
Okay. Okay. So you got him going Bryce Young, Alabama.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Man, I did not have him going there, but it's cool. We're going to segue. Um, Pick number two, I have the Houston Texans saving people's jobs and selecting a quarterback. So I got him selecting C.J. Stroud, quarterback out of Ohio State.
And I had that as well. So we
Okay.
got I had that as well. And I think maybe at this point, maybe no, I don't think this is where we differ because they already got Kyler Murray. So I don't really see an opportunity for where you would go somewhere else. But I got the Cardinals selecting Will Anderson Jr.
I like that. I like that. They do need some edge help.
Edge help, giving us some edge help out of
Mm.
Bama.
Okay. I have the Colts. Ready? Surprise, right? I have them selecting quarterback Hendon Hooker at number 4. Yes, everyone, Hendon Hooker is going to the Colts at number 4, quarterback out of Tennessee.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah,
Um, I
real
think
interesting.
trying to think. I do think eventually it is going to change some things because I don't want to.
Mhm.
Because I had the Colts taking Tyree Wilson at
Oh,
that spot
okay.
because I just felt like a quarterback. Outside
Mhm.
of those top ones, those quarterbacks are just it's just too much going on at that point. And so I think that Jalen Carter
Mm-hmm.
Seattle is going to take Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Um, at number 6, I have the Lions selecting defensive back Devin Witherspoon. Devin Witherspoon. They're going to get some back end help. I know Aaron Rodgers is no longer there to throw the ball, but they still need some back end help. So I'm going to go with the defensive back, Ralph. I got Devin Witherspoon going to the Lions.
I actually have that too, man. So I think I'm actually I'm really surprised. I thought it was
Different
going
on
to be
that
some.
one.
I thought it was going to be some tomfoolery coming out on your end, bro.
After that hidden hook, I threw that hook shot in there. All right.
um, but I do got Christian Gonzalez going to my team as we speak. Now we'll see what actually happens with this draft. If they do some BS, I might be picking up another team, um, and throwing in my Raiders cup, trading it in for a Saints cup.
Okay. And that was
But we
number
got the cornerback out of Oregon, number 7,
okay,
going
Gonzalez.
to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay. So at number 8, I have the Falcons selecting Miles Murphy, defensive end out of Clemson. They had a horrible pass rush last year. They need a pass rush. So I got them getting the pass rush.
I like that one, man. I like that one. I actually had them taking Lucas Van Ness, but I did
Okay.
agree with the pass rush. And I think because this is where things kind of get a little shaky.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Bears.
trying to
Big
think.
point. The Bears.
Because I'm thinking, who's next? So yeah, we got the Bears, and this is where I think that do you take an offensive tackle
Mm-hmm.
like I have them slated, but then Tyree Wilson is available right now, and so it's like, but Tyree Wilson. Do the Colts run a 3-4 defense, or is
Do
it
they?
4-3?
I thought they ran a.
It's a
I
four
think
three,
they
right?
4-3. Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah, this is the part that makes it tough because you know what? I'm gonna
He's gonna
stick
end
to
up.
the script.
Okay.
And at number 9, the Chicago Bears are going to take Peter Skoronsky
Okay. Ah, I
out
like that. I like that.
out of wait, hold up. Let's get that K in there. Out of Northwestern.
Mm. Okay. So I have at pick 10, the Philadelphia Eagles select offensive tackle Broderick Jones out of Georgia. They had lost, I believe, 2 offensive linemen thus far this offseason. So I'm going to have them replenish that. They have Lane Johnson there. Continue to keep that line protected for Jalen Hurts.
This is I think this is where you start messing up my stuff.
Oh, man.
Uh, because once again, that's a spot I had them taking an edge rusher,
Oh,
and so I think
we
I
staying
do
off.
have I do have the edge. I do have the Packers taking the edge rusher, so I'm just gonna flip flop because the edge rusher I had them taking, um, you had them you had them pick. He was picked already.
Mhm.
So hold on, we got the Eagles. Eagles taking Broderick. I had him going to the Patriots. And then next up, we at 11. We got wait no, it's at 11. Is it 11? On 11, I got the Titans taking. I'm gonna stick with that one. I'm gonna give them Paris Johnson,
Oh, that definitely
Paris
changes some
Johnson
things.
Jr.
Okay.
out of Ohio State,
Get some
and then
receiver help there.
no, it's no, he's a tackle.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was thinking about someone else. I was thinking about what I had. My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then
Sorry. So
so
go ahead.
at 12, we got the Texans in at 12.
Okay, so the Texans, I have them selecting the low budget DeAndre Hopkins Quentin, looking like Quentin Johnson out of TCU, wide receiver.
Quentin Johnson. I
Yeah.
pretty much I had them taking CJ's college teammate
Ooh.
and pairing
Jackson
with Jack.
Smith.
Yeah, and getting
Okay.
Jackson and Jigba.
Hmm.
And so next up, I got the Jets. Got the Jets. Jets, Jets, Jets. I got the Jets taking Osiris
Mm.
Torrance.
I like that name.
I think with what's it, Elijah Vera, um, who was playing guard. I think with him, they're going to move him out left, out wide, and pair and put Osiris on the inside out of Florida at guard.
Okay.
Jets. What you got at 14?
All right. So 14, I got the New England Patriots selecting offensive tackle Darnell Wright. They need that tackle help, especially in that division. They're going to need offensive tackle help because you have the defensive big guys like the what is it, Quentin Williams and all those guys in New York in that same division. So you definitely need to beef up that line. So I got them selecting Darnell Wright, offensive tackle, going to New England.
And so because you had Miles Murphy go to another team, which is
Mhm.
where I had this is where I had him at. I'm gonna put Tyree Wilson. I doubt in real life he's not gonna slide this far.
Mhm.
Uh, but I got the Packers taking Tyree Wilson at 15.
Okay. And then at 16, I have the Washington Commanders selecting tight end Dawson Kincaid. He fulfills a need, has similarities to Travis Kelsey, and they have Eric Bieniemy as their new offensive coordinator. So I'm going to roll with a Titan. I mean, a tight end. I almost say Titan, get it? But a tight end in Dalton Kincaid. So I got him going to the Commanders. So
Hold up real quick.
this one should be an easy pick right here. Who could the Steelers possibly pick?
And so with that, I don't I'm gonna have them picking him just because I got the Commanders picking him, and I can't have the Commanders picking him if you already had him
Okay.
get picked. But Joey Porter
Yeah.
Jr. I got the Steelers at 17 taking Joey Porter Jr. But on my mock draft, I actually have Deontay Banks going to the Steelers.
Okay. Okay. That's actually a good pick, too. I had him going to the Steelers because they also signed Patrick Peterson for a 1 year gap deal, right?
Yeah.
His dad played there. They run a lot of man coverage. I'll tell you that they run a lot of man coverage and other stuff in Pittsburgh. So Joey Porter Jr. is someone who can be press at the line. It works out perfectly for them. So I think
And for that reason, that's why I had
yeah.
the Steelers picking Deontay Banks, because I think he needs more
Okay.
work. Where Joey
Mm.
Porter Jr. Can step in day one and already
Day one.
be your CB1.
Okay. Yeah, and that defense in Washington it was ridiculous. All right. So Lions, I have them taking the defensive tackle, Kalaja Cansey. I'm not very well versed in him. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I have them selecting defensive tackle in area of need.
Actually, you know what? That's where we agree. We agree.
Hey, okay.
At
This is up.
19, I got the Buccaneers. Now, this is where stuff is a little off
Mhm.
because you had Darnell. Oh, wait, no, wait, hold up. I gotta go back up here because you had Broderick go at 10. Who did I have at 10? I had Nolan Smith at 10.
Mm.
And I personally feel like that the Bucks need help. But
Mhm.
just for the sake of this draft, I'm gonna have the Buccaneers at 19. Will be taking Nolan Smith
Okay. Okay. I could definitely see that.
with
Um,
with dang, I can't even think of the coach name, but he's a defensive guy.
well,
Getting hit.
Pete Carroll or Dan Quinn.
Yeah, not no.
Not Dan Quinn.
That's
Not Dan Quinn. Oh.
because he's black.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
named two white dudes.
yeah. You said Tampa Bay. My bad.
Yeah, yeah.
I was thinking of the Seahawks. Tampa Bay. Oh boy. Yeah, I know
Todd
the ball.
Bowles. Todd Bowles.
Yeah, yeah.
Todd
Wow.
Bowles. Yeah, Todd
Yeah.
Bowles getting his defensive guy. But
Right.
next up at 20, we got the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
Who you got them picking?
And you already picked Luca Van Ness, right?
Actually, no, I did not because I had him going to the Falcons.
Okay. Well, I have him going to the Seahawks. Edge. Luca Van Ness at
All
20.
right, all right, all right. What's it, Lucas? Yeah, this is the spot where I had Anthony Richardson getting picked.
Ooh. In LA?
No, as
Oh,
Seattle.
Seattle. Okay, okay.
And so the Chargers, I wouldn't be surprised if they take Bajan Robertson because of
Right.
the Austin Eckler
Yeah.
situation. But
Yeah.
I got Jordan Addison staying in LA, playing
Okay.
at USC, going to the
Uh-huh.
Chargers.
So, fun fact, I have Jordan Addison going there as well. So that's the beauty of mock drafts, right? It's like point 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. It's like it's a possibility could happen, right? So I like
Right.
that.
And
All right.
then who you
So
got your Ravens picking?
our Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens, with the 22nd pick of the NFL draft, will select 5'10" speed receiver, like they always do. There was a fill the slot. Zay Flowers out of Florida. They're selecting Zay Flowers. How Lamar Jackson's boy. So I got them selecting Zay Flowers. I'm gonna continue to pick them until probably mock draft 3.0. But yeah,
And
that's
so
all right.
at 23, and I feel like I'm missing. I don't have the correct spelling because there's so
Okay.
many ways to spell Jalen. But
Mm-hmm.
I got the Vikings, and then some
Mm-hmm.
some wide receiver help, young wide receiver help on the other side of Justin
Mm-hmm.
Jefferson, and going with Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver.
I like that one. Okay. That's 23, the Dolphins.
Yeah, no, the Vikings. 23, the Vikings.
Oh, 22, the Vikings. Okay. So the Dolphins are at 23, right? No, hold up. Let's
I
see. We
was gonna
had
say.
Ravens 22. Did I mess up when I put my notes down on this? Let me see. What did I
Yeah, I
say?
believe I believe so because I don't think the
Yeah,
Dolphins had that high of a pick.
no, they didn't. My bad. Okay, Vikings. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Jaguars. Don't
Vikings.
forget the
It's
other Florida
Jaguars.
team.
It's after that.
Jaguars. Yeah, the other Florida team. Okay, so I actually have them selecting a defensive back here, Cam Smith. Having additional back end help. I think offensively, Ralph, they're pretty much set with their quarterback position, their running back position, the receiver position could use a little bit of help here as well. But I'm going to go with the defensive back, their secondary with Cam Smith.
And Smith.
Cam Smith, not Cam Newton, children, but Cam Smith.
Dang, that messes me up because at I had him going later to the
Oh,
Bills,
oh, the
and then
Bills.
now I'm gonna have to make up another pick. So the Giants at 25. I have the Giants going with John Michael Smits,
Who? Oh,
a center out of Minnesota, getting them some offensive line help.
okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I like that. They need some O line help. I had them going with Joe Tippmann, interior offensive line, a center as well. So, but I like that pick as well. The Cowboys, defense, defense, defense. Mozzie Smith, Mozzie Smith, cool name. I got them selecting Mozzie Smith at 26. Okay,
And at 27,
I like
I
running
got
back.
at 27, I got the Bills. I'm not sure because then certain things have been messed up, and they already got Dawson Knox, so the tight end spot is different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think they need offense. I think they need some. I think they need edge rusher help.
Oh, that's another good
So
one.
so from my last mock draft, I'm going to pull
All right.
Felix Anudike Uzuma.
Ooh, I'm gonna call him Uzuma. All right. So that was the 27 with the Bills.
Yeah.
All right. So the Bengals, I have them selecting. Who do I have the Bengals selecting? Let's see what I have down here. Okay. All right. So Mississippi State. That's what I was going with the Bengals. Emmanuel Forbes, defensive back, going to the Bengals out of Mississippi State. Man, continuing that trend of that secondary to pair with their pass rush. The Bengals, they have the most complete team, I believe, in the AFC North.
And
That is. Yeah.
and so next up, I got the Saints
On the Saints, come marching in. Boom, boom,
taking a
boom.
tight end, giving Derek Carr some help. He likes throwing to the tight end. Michael Mayers out of Notre Dame.
I like that pick, and you would know what Derek Carr likes, so I like that pick. I like that pick. Okay, did you select Bajan Robinson already yet?
Nah, but
No.
for
Okay.
the sake of this draft, this is probably where I would put him at
Okay.
because they lost Miles Sanders.
Mm-hmm. So I had him going to either the Bills or I had him going to the Eagles. And I know my boy Jamal likes him, but he just wouldn't take him as high, right? In the top 10, even though he has that talent, but we don't base off of how I feel about the value of a running back, right? So I'm gonna pick, I believe, Bajan Robinson. If he's still there, if the Bills don't select him, he's gonna fall to the Eagles at 30. So I got them selecting Bajan Robinson, running back.
For sure. And then I'm trying to think. I just want to make sure there's nobody we are leaving off this list that deserves to be in this first round.
Did we select? Oh yeah, you should deserve to be in the first round. Okay, yeah, because there's a couple different receivers we can go with. I mean,
All right.
receivers.
So you know what? I'm gonna give the Chiefs Jackson
Okay,
Smith and
JSN.
Jigba.
All right.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, and we actually did a really good job of going through that
Whoa.
and finishing on time. We're not gonna go 10 minutes over. That's what's up.
Yep,
But
perfect.
just as a recap, we're just gonna show them up on the screen.
Okay.
Mock draft 2.0. Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
Texans,
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals. I don't know. I doubt. I just don't. That's just this ain't happening. I doubt it. I just doubt. I don't think Hendon Hooker jumps Anthony Richardson
Hey, Mitch Trubisky.
unless they both completely go out of uh the first round because with Hooker he's had knee injuries and he's like DeJuan Blair, he ain't got no ACLs. And so we got the Commanders taking a tight end. This is where I think I had Joey Porter, but for the sake of following up with his pops, it's a cool little mock draft. I have no issues with it. This is another spot that I think pay attention and look and see where Anthony Richardson would come up. The Chargers could take Bijan Robinson based on the Austin Eckler situation.
And the Ravens could trade their pick, so or be in trade their quarterback. So we'll see how
Right.
everything goes.
And then I actually really like this one, putting him on the other side of Von Miller.
Oh, that'd be cold. And I like how they have. Remember, they have Greg Rousseau.
Right.
They have some pieces there, which is like when Von Miller's gone. Like Rousseau was nice, so that's the beauty of their depth. I think when you look at the edge in Buffalo. So
And then make sure you follow our page, man, on Instagram at j.u.k. sports show. Make sure you go on YouTube at j.u.k. media. Facebook as well, the He Say She Say All One Word channel. Follow us as well on Instagram at KYNGRALPH. On all of my socials, add a underscore for Twitter. Go on at the House of Hoops
yes,
on Instagram for unbiased, no narrative driven basketball analysis. The playoffs is coming up. Thanks for
Katie is
watching.
back. Bye.
Peace.